evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Brenda Dorsey with BrenNewMedia. We're continuing our health series on health and well-being during these pandemic times. We have with us today Dr. Hiramalini Seshadri, a rheumatologist and medicine specialist with over 40 years experience trained in the East and the West. Dr. Sheshadri is a well-known author, highly respected doctor, and a great public speaker. Welcome to the show, Dr. Sheshadri.
Good evening, Brenda. Hello
Welcome
from
to the show.
Singapore.
So the question is, what is hypertension? Is there anything I can do besides tabs and tackle with high blood pressure? That's what we'll be talking about today.
Right. So we'll get down to brass tacks. What is blood pressure? What is hypertension? We'll start with blood pressure. We all know that it's blood that takes the oxygen and food to all the tissues of the body. So obviously it has to flow. And what makes it flow? It's the heart that pumps the blood, makes it flow. Okay, so many decades ago, a researcher stuck a glass capillary tube with mercury into an artery, and they found that because of the pumping of the heart, the mercury went up for about 12 centimeters. 12 centimeters is 120 millimeters, right? So right. Every time the heart contracted, it could push up the mercury to 120 millimeters. And when the heart relaxed, it didn't go right down to zero. It came down to about 8 centimeters or 80 millimeters. So then they called this the blood pressure and said this is the pressure inside the tube through which blood flows, the artery. And this is the arterial blood pressure of 120 millimeters of mercury. That is the top reading, and the lower one was 80. And this is supposed to be the average normal reading for blood pressure. Now, they found that blood pressure could go high in people, okay? And so why does this happen? Well, they said part of it, many reasons. But one of this could be genes, Some families, they have a higher blood pressure than others. But that's just one reason. There are many more important reasons. And okay. It's obvious that if the artery, the pipe through which the blood flows, if it becomes clogged and it's narrow, the heart has to pump much harder to make the blood flow through a narrow pipe. That makes the blood pressure go up. And that's a very big cause of high blood pressure these days, especially in America. This clogging comes mainly because of fat. Everybody's heard of cholesterol, right?
Right.
Okay. I've heard in India that, there's so much of increase of consumption of cholesterol creating food in the West. They say in America, children, before they learn ABC, they learn KFC. Okay.
Let's talk about measuring blood pressure. What is normal?
Yeah. Normal blood pressure would be anything below the top reading should be 120 or lesser. The lower reading should be 80 or lesser. They write it as millimeters of mercury. Okay. Now, anything above that is not good. All right. Huh?
Okay.
And so let's just go through the causes and then I'll go into the numbers. Okay. So narrow arteries, high blood pressure. And then if your heart is not just pumping, but it's pounding away, okay, that can cause high blood pressure too. Okay, what makes a heart pound? They say this man went into the doctor's office and the doctor checked his blood pressure and said, oh, your blood pressure is high. And then the man says, oh, doc, it's the family. So then the doctor says, oh, so there's blood pressure in the family. Is it on your mother's side or on your father's side? And he says, neither. It's my wife's family. So you see the stress. Yeah? So if your heart's pounding away due to stress, that can cause high blood pressure. And then if you're overweight, now how does that work? So suppose you have a huge big overhead tank and you're trying to fill it with water. You have a pump down here. If it's 1,000-liter tank and it fills in 1 hour, if suddenly you make it a 2,000-liter tank, it's going to take 2 hours. Or if you want to fill it in the same 1 hour, you need a double horsepower pump. Same way, if you're 60 kilos, your heart is fine, pumping away. Suddenly you become 100 kilos. Now the heart can't stay to the right hand. You wait there, let me give blood first to the left hand and then to the right hand. It has to keep the circulation going. So it has to work double horsepower. So the blood pressure goes up again. Then there's something about fluid overload. Now, how do I explain that to you? Okay, I'll explain it with this supposed to be a joke. Tell me, Brenda, why did the skeptic develop high blood pressure? A skeptic, somebody who doubts everything. Why did he develop high blood pressure? I'll give you the answer.
Okay.
Because he took everything with a pinch of salt. Now, the word salt, okay? Sodium chloride. The sodium that goes into our system retains water, and then you become fluid overloaded, and then you develop high blood pressure. So there are many causes for blood pressure going up, you see.
Okay.
And so what if it goes up? There are really no symptoms of it. You don't feel anything. The trouble is, now if blood pressure goes up too high, these tubes through which blood flows, they're not made of iron or something. They just might burst. So you can have a burst vessel in the brain. Or if the clogged one gets completely blocked, then you suppose there's no blood going into the brain, you end up with a stroke or little mini strokes, what they call transient ischemic attacks, where you can, have a blackout now and again.
That's what I was going to ask you the question. What other diseases it can cause?
Yes.
Having high blood
in the
pressure.
brain, in the brain, it can cause transient ischemic attacks where you can have a blackout, a sudden feeling of weakness, and then you get better. That's risky too. Or you can have a full-blown stroke, or it affects the eye, you can have visual problems, or if it blocks the arteries supplying your heart muscle, you can have chest pain if you're climbing stairs, or the heart becomes so tired it can go into failure, or if a lot of heart muscle doesn't get blood supply, you'd have a heart attack. It could be sudden death, or you could have a major myocardial infarction, as they call it, or a heart attack. It could affect the kidneys, and then you go into kidney problems. And mind you, life is not fun anymore if any of these complications happen. And
I'm sorry, you can go.
Now let's come to the numbers that you wanted to know. Now, in 2017, they had a lot of experts meeting because high blood pressure becomes such a big problem all over the world, and particularly in the United States of America. They found out that 1 in 3 Americans was having high blood pressure, and the worst affected was the African American community, much higher. And what is worse, even at lower blood pressure levels, African Americans were developing all the complications. Kidney problems, they had 4 times as much as the others. Strokes twice as much as the others. Heart problems 1.5 times more. So they said this had to stop, and sudden death, of course. So you just imagine people being mowed down in the prime of their life. Okay? And so then they decided the only way to tackle this was to catch it early. So in fact, they lowered the bar, so to speak. So now, you have to have a blood pressure 120/80 or below to be normal.
Okay.
If top reading is 120 to 129, it's elevated. Okay, it's time to be careful. Your lower reading has to be below 80. If the upper reading is above 130 and the lower one is above 80, but still below 90, you are still a stage 1 hypertensive. And if your figures are more than 140 on top and more than 90 below, then you're clearly a stage 2 hypertensive and you need medicine.
I'm sorry, continue. I'm sorry, continue.
Because the bar has been lowered, now a lot more people have high blood pressure, right? Because you've lowered the bar, right? And here again, they find that the numbers, now about 46% of Americans, if you take the Caucasian population, they have high blood pressure. But when it comes to the African American community, it's almost more than 55%. That's a colossal number. And even with lower levels of so-called high blood pressure, they're developing all the complications. The complications are serious, right?
Right.
Now, so that's the bad news. That's the bad news.
That's the bad.
Yeah. And in COVID times, this has suddenly shot into focus. Because we know with the COVID, there's, it's the figures are so skewed. They appear so skewed. Why are so many African Americans dying, even so young? They say it's because of these comorbidities, and one important one is high blood pressure. So that's just brought this whole thing into focus, right?
Okay, doctor, besides taking tablets, this is the most important question. Besides taking tablets, what can we do to lower our blood pressure to be normal?
Yes. The good news is there's a lot you can do. And the even better news is that they found that if these changes are carried out, then particularly the African American community, the response is excellent. You can reverse the blood pressure back to normalcy, you get out of all the risks and live a long, healthy, happy life.
Tell us what we can do.
What are the changes? Okay, the changes. I'm always favorite of my favorite number is 5. The changes are, firstly, you have to change your food habits. Okay. Secondly, you have to make sure you're resting enough. Thirdly, of course, there's the exercise factor. Fourthly, I won't call it the mind this time, I will call it behavior. How you behave as an individual, your own habits, your own nature, and your behavior in a group, in the family, in the community, all that affects your blood pressure. And finally, of course, your own harmony with your own self. Now, so these are the 5 factors that we need to address. Because genes you can't change, it's too late. You can't change your parents now. Okay? Now, of all these 5 factors, which do you think is the most important? And at this point, I'll sit back and I'll now allow these folks to speak. Now, I want you to look at this person. I want the audience also to look at this person on top. He is, can you see that picture? I don't know. Okay?
Yes.
He is a top doctor in the US. Okay? One of the most respected doctors in the US. Yeah, he was the president of the American College of Cardiology. He is an African American. He was the president of the American College of Cardiology. Okay? So somebody asked him this very same question, which of these lifestyle changes is the most important? And he should know, right?
Right.
And he spoke not just from knowledge, but from personal experience. And he said that the number 1 change had to be in the food. Okay? And what was his personal experience? Now, he's a cardiologist, so he knew what to do. So he was exercising, he was the right weight, he was eating his fruits, his vegetables, his nuts, and no red meat, only chicken and fish. And yet, when he went for a checkup, he found that his cholesterol was high. And around then, he'd had a patient who had come for a heart scan. Now, this lady had come a couple of years earlier, and she had blocks everywhere. In fact, he thought she had to have an urgent, 5-vessel bypass or some such thing. Anyway, he didn't see her for a couple of years, and now she was back because she had broken her ankle and needed surgery. And the anesthetist looked at her old scan and said, "No, I'm not touching you." So she wanted a fresh scan so that she could get her surgery done. And then he was stunned to find that all her blocks had disappeared. Her heart was perfect. So he asked her, when did you have your bypass surgery? She said, "I didn't have any." "What did you do?" She went on a lifestyle modification program by yet another doctor who's very well known, Dr. Dean Ornish. Okay, Dean Ornish, he's been practicing lifestyle medicine for 40 years. In fact, in one of my books, which I wrote 20 years ago, I quoted his work. Now, he believes in bringing in changes in diet, modicum of exercise, stress management, and improving their emotional support systems. And he finds that his patients do extremely well without all these surgeries. And this lady had gone there. She didn't want no surgeon cutting her up. And it had worked for her. So when Dr. Kim Williams had his high cholesterol, what did he do? He did exactly what his patient did. He stopped eating meat. Okay? He turned vegetarian. Actually, now he's vegan now. And now all his numbers, his cholesterol, everything's perfect.
So he stopped eating meat. Dr. Sheshadri, we're going to take a break. We're going to take a break and we'll be right back. I would like to thank our sponsor, the T-Shirt Lab, for sponsoring this show today. This beautiful T-shirt. If you would like to have a T-shirt, send me an email, BrenNewMedia@gmail.com. We'll be right back. Welcome back. We're going to let Dr. Sheshadri continue. She was talking about Dr. Kim Williams. All right, doctor, you can continue.
Okay. Well, changing food habits is one of the most difficult things. It's not easy, okay? So I'm going to give you all the information. As I said, I'm taking a backseat and I'm going to share with you information because this is an idea whose time has come.
Especially with the pandemic. Yes.
It's pretty unstoppable, okay? I showed you the picture of Dr. Kim Williams. Now, there's another doctor here. She's a lady doctor. She's again African-American, Dr. Harriet, and she's a specialist, a sports medicine specialist. She's made the change too.
What is her name?
Harriet, Dr. Harriet. She's a sports medicine specialist. Okay? Right? Okay? So, if you look at, there are doctors who are making the changes. Right? There's another Dr. Mills, again African American, but they can only affect the patients who go to them. It's one by one by one. But if you want to save the lives of so many African American, the community is facing a huge challenge. Men, fathers of little children are being mowed down by this disease, right?
Mm-hmm.
Fathers their sons, wives their husbands. Women too are succumbing to this because their levels are also high. So this needs a total change in the eating pattern of the community. And this can happen only if there is a movement ground upwards. It can never come top down. And there has been a groundswell of support for this movement. And it actually began with somebody who I read up about for this program, and that's Dick Gregory. Okay. I think many of you will recognize him. Great man. Actually, you should have a memorial to him. I mean, just imagine, he had the confidence and the leadership qualities of, I would say, it was like Abraham Lincoln. At the same time, he had passion, compassion, love, the non-violence, and standing for his principles.
Highly respected.
Yes, and what a brilliant man! What a sense of humor, like Mark Twain. I mean, he should be an icon. You should have a memorial for him. The kids should be learning about him, reading about him. And he had turned vegan and vegetarian, even in the 60s. And he's important because there's one young lady now, her name is Tracy McWhirter, and she met him as a college student. And today she has launched this program called 10,000 Black Women Vegans. because it's women who can bring this change in diet, right?
Right.
There's a
Because
lady who decides what food comes on the table.
yes,
So
I was
she
just
reached out to 10,000 Black women vegans. So definitely look up her website and join that movement. It's nobody would like to change. Oh, just for my blood pressure, change all the food. No, but when you can always give up and change for a higher cause. You see, we all need that higher cause to change.
what is the blood pressure? What is the blood pressure friendly activities? The blood pressure friendly activities. Can you give me some of?
Yes. So when you change your diet, what are the changes that you need to make? You need to cut out certain things. The 3 S's. When I say food, I include what goes in through the nose and skin and everything. You know that. Okay. So cut out, reduce salt consumption, reduce sugar consumption to the maximum, and of course, cut out smoking totally. And again, white flour products. And what should you increase? You need to increase your fruits, fiber containing vegetables, and fish. Cut out the meat. Okay. As Dr. Kim Williams, he personally experienced, just cutting out red meat is not enough. The other meats too. Okay. Have salmon or sardines, fish, maybe once or twice a week.
I love salmon. I eat lots of
Yeah.
salmon.
Dr. Ornish's famous patient, of course, is Bill Clinton. He's looking so much trimmer now, so much better. He's on the same diet. Okay. He takes salmon once a week, I'm told. Okay. The rest of it is vegetarian food. So people can change. And if you're wondering, oh, will youngsters be able to change? Yes. Just look at the NBA, the basketball team. Okay. They've changed. Okay. They started the John, Sally, and then Irving, Chandler, Lillard. Your kids will know all these names. Al Jefferson. They're all vegetarian now. Look at the footballers: Tom Brady, Dick Morgan, Woodyard. You're in Tennessee, the Tennessee Titans. They're all gone vegetarian, vegans. What about the women? Venus Williams, Serena Williams, Seba, the skier, Morgan Mitchell, the 400 meters runner from Australia, the Formula One racer, Lewis Hamilton. They're all turned vegan and vegetarian. They're all African American or people of African descent. They could do it. They're youngsters. And if you look at the music group, I love music.
I
And
love
so yes. So look at these guys. These are all the rappers. Okay? There was a time when people in music were considered, it was considered, showbiz was considered dicey because they would get into a drink and smoke and drugs and everything. But no, these people, RZA, Waka Flocka, YG, the Will I Am, William, Gucci, KRS, DJ Khaled, they're all clean. They drink water, okay? They're vegan, okay? And bringing so much joy to people, living healthy lives, happy lives.
Dr. Sheshadri, tell us how much water a glass of water we should drink. How many glasses of water we should drink to help lower our blood pressure?
It's not drinking water to lower your blood pressure. Instead of drinking the colas which are packed with sugar, okay, instead of drinking those things and all those fizzy drinks, much better to drink water or drink green tea or drink lemon tea, okay, or plain water.
But is there a certain amount that we should drink a day? Water, the myth is you should drink 8 glasses of water a day.
8 glasses of water, 6 glasses of water. It may be a little this way, that way. That's okay. But the main thing is to avoid things that bring in a lot of sugar into the system, like the cola drinks. Okay? So
Is
you
it better
avoid,
for tap?
yes.
Is it better for tap water or cold water, or does it make any difference?
Uh, in the East, we always prefer warm water. And one of the theories that if you've had a fatty meal, okay, a fat-rich meal, and you drink warm water, it goes down the gut. The warm water makes sure that the fat is dissolved and it's out faster. Whereas if you drink cold water, it tends to be in the intestines longer and gets absorbed a bit more. Okay, so warm water is always better. Okay. But very important is to avoid the tinned foods, the canned foods, the processed foods, because they all have much more salt in them, much more all kinds of chemicals in them, many cancer-causing chemicals. For example, bacon. Okay, it's proven that it can cause lots of cancers. So it's better to avoid these things. Okay, it's the whole community is at risk. And if you look at the roots, look at the West African, they have such good health. That the genes are good. It's just that the nurture here is not good, and that's mowing down the community. So it has to be a movement involving not just the patient, the whole families, children. Okay, you've got all the stars with you. You've got the sports people. You've got the musicians. You've got the doctors. There's a groundswell of movement, and this has to be carried forth.
So give us a good food menu for the day: breakfast, lunch, and dinner.
Okay, here we go. For breakfast, you start the previous night. You soak some oats, oatmeal or bran, in low-fat milk, which is fortified with calcium. Next morning, for sweetener, don't use sugar, use honey instead. Chop bananas and put it in. They're rich in potassium, they're rich in magnesium, they're rich in fiber, all good for blood pressure. Okay. I add cardamom. It's a spice powdered into it. If you're going to have a full day's work, add a power sandwich. And what's that? 2 slices of bread of your choice, not white bread, toasted with a slice of lime in between, shredded carrot, some lettuce, and use vegetarian cheese, that is cheese made from chickpeas, because normal cheese is rich in salt. Okay. Lunch, you can have brown rice or quinoa or jacket potatoes, but make sure you have salad, cucumber, tomatoes, onions, okay, with some olive oil dressing on it, right? Evening, have some green tea, maybe some nuts, and dinner early by 6 o'clock. Okay, have a light dinner. Once in a way, you can have a pizza, but a homemade one. Mozzarella cheese has low salt, or better still, use the chickpeas. What dessert? You can have dark chocolate. That's good for blood pressure and the heart. Also, yogurt. We take a lot of yogurt. And important to finish your meal early in the day. Don't eat at night. And also, remember, fasting is good. It helps in blood pressure. So maybe one day in 10 days, you can have just fruits and fruit juice all through the day. Not starving, but a different kind of diet. All this helps. Okay? We're on a there's some clock ticking away there. So
Yes,
there's more things that to do. That's not just food. There's also behavior management, changes. All this we'll discuss at the next time when we meet the next time.
yes.
So
We're going to continue. Yes, Dr. Sheshadri, thank you so much, Dr. Sheshadri, for your time. I know it's late there in Singapore. We're going to continue this health series on high blood pressure because I know it's a lot that you have to tell us, but we're going to pick up on our next show. Okay, thank you very much. Have a good night, everyone.
Good night. Namaste.
And before we leave, I want to say again, thank you for our sponsor, the T-Shirt Lab. Thank you very much for sponsoring this show. And the beautiful T-shirt. Thank you very much. Send me an email if you would like to have one. Thank you very much. Good night, everyone.